Right, hi everyone, I'm Hugo. So I'm going to present Windmill. I'm going to talk about a bit of the company, the product, and then kind of share with you what we can do with it and how you could use it in your own project. So just a few words about me. I was actually a master student here at EPFL until January, so it wasn't that long ago. I did a master in data science, and basically I joined Windmill 8 months ago for my master's thesis, and I worked on LLMs. I'm going to show you later what I worked on, but that's when I joined Windmill, and then after my thesis, they offered me a position, and I joined, and I'm now a software engineer there, and I love it. So, and I'm not exactly sure why I'm the one presenting today, because we have a Fatan also, who's our head of product, and who's joined the company 2 years ago, or 1 year and a half, and has more experience with the product. But anyway, it's my job, so let's do it. So Windmill, Windmill is a startup founded in 2022. It was basically, so it was founded by Ruben, who was a software engineer at Palantir before, and is also a EPFL alumni. He applied to YC, Y Combinator, and was integrated into the summer batch of 2022. At the end of the program, also raised more money with Bessemer and Gradient. Now the team is not really in San Francisco anymore, but more in Paris and in Lausanne. We have a bunch of stars on GitHub. Please, you will see the links multiple times. Please go there and start a repo. And we have more than 2,000 active instances using our product. You can see that we're trusted by many customers, but it doesn't matter that much. So what Windmill is trying to solve is that building internal tools inside companies is quite important, but it's also quite annoying to do, because you have some drag and drop tools that are easy to use, but they're not customizable enough. And on the other hand, you can do it unique only with code, but it's a lot of overhead. You need to handle dependencies, you need to handle secrets, you need to handle schedules with cron jobs, etc. So it's a lot of extra work to make it work, and that's why Windmill exists now. So basically what it does is that it's an infrastructure platform that only lets you code what you need, but with full flexibility. And it does this with 3 main products, I would say. So the first one is scripts. So it's basically a script in many languages. We support many ones. I'll share with you which ones. As well as flows, which are basically scripts put together with data flow between them, and as well as apps, which are so a drag and drop editor, which is connected to your scripts, and also, so it's, I know it's a little abstract for now, but it will make a lot more sense later on. Yeah, I think I'll skip that because it will make much more sense later. Sorry. So our platform helps develop and test and iterate. We also have some diff editors to help you kind of see what changes you made as you go, and you can easily deploy our platform on the cloud, so either through Docker or Kubernetes. And we have a lot of monitoring included into the product, which basically makes it easy to kind of track what's going on with your jobs. So there are a lot of competitors that out there. I mean, I don't think you care that much about that, but basically this just shows that we're pretty performant, and we support a lot of languages compared to other systems. And one particular point is that we're open source, so all of our source code is free and available on GitHub. And yeah, okay, yeah. So our source code is public. You can go there and check and start a repo. And so our code base is in Rust and Svelte, so Rust for the backend and Svelte for the front end. And it's self-hostable, so you can, I'm going to show you a demo just now, but and you can follow along, sorry. And it's really easy, and you'll see how it works. So I just want to kind of try to explain how it works. So basically, Windmill is mostly based around a DB, a database. So in this case, it's Postgres. And it's basically a queue of jobs. So a job is simply a script to be executed. And when you interact with Windmill, what you do is you're just putting jobs into the queue. And then you have workers at the bottom, which are small instances, so small servers, that will basically pull those jobs and then run them as fast as they can and at the same time. Did I want to say something else? No, I think that's it. So I'm gonna start now with a small demo locally to show how you can install it and get started really quickly. You can, I think it's short enough for you to click on it. Sorry, I need to do. I think it's fine. So you basically get here a link to a repo, and then you have the steps here basically to get started. So oh, that's not what I want. Sorry. Okay, so basically to get started with Windmill, so you just create a folder where you want to have it installed. So let's say, I don't know, EPFL demo 2. Oh, shit. And then you just go, oh, so you need to have Docker installed, sorry, yeah. That's the link of the GitHub. No, it's the link to this presentation, to this Google Sheets, Google Docs, sorry. Oh. So it's optional. You don't have to follow this, but if you want, it's just to show you how easy it is. All right. So yeah, you need to have Docker installed, but once you have Docker installed, it's as easy as copy pasting those few lines you find on the Google Doc. So for me, it's really quick because I just pulled the images before, but oh yeah. Sorry, just a second. Yeah, so I have a little issue with space on my computer right now, so it won't start. For
people, if they're launching it, it's downloading or
yeah, it will take a bit of time, but once it was in start, you can just go to localhost, and it will appear there, and then you will have like the setup for a new interface, for a new instance, sorry. And then because it's local, you don't have to do all the setup. You will see it will ask you to create a new account. You don't have to do all of that. You can just skip, and then you can log in with, I didn't write it down, but these credentials when you're local. And if you want, you can follow what I'll be doing after with your local instance. Otherwise, you can just go log in on we have a public instance on the cloud. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's just this link. So you have it, it's also in the Google Doc at the end. So you can just log in, and then once you're logged in, I'll do it with you, so it's simpler. So you need to use a social account. Doesn't matter which one. And then you should get to an interface which is similar to this one, and then you can create a new workspace. So let's say EPFL demo 2. And here you have the possibility to add an OpenAI key. So exceptionally, we share one in the presentation at the end. So you can just copy paste it and then put it there. You will see what it does afterwards. Please don't abuse it. I mean, I'll kill it after the presentation, but we have a limited credit. So if someone tries to do something now, we'll run out of credits before the end of the presentation. So once you've created your workspace, this is basically the place where you will put your scripts, apps, and flows. And then let's get started with creating a new script. Yeah, I forgot to do something at the beginning I wanted to do. Can I just get an idea of who you are? So can I get by a show of hands who's in bachelor still? Okay, and who's in master's? All right, and is it computer science? Yes, you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember all the different master's degree, but what? Sorry. Oh yeah, but it's the same as computer. It's the same. It's computer science. Anyone not in a computer science master's? Like, okay, cool. And so I guess you're all used to Python. Yeah. Okay. So let's go with Python. So basically, is it big enough? Yeah, I think so. So starting with a script, you just create a function called main. And for now, it does nothing. And then you can specify some parameters. So let's say you want to take a name, and then you specify some type. And you see that on the right, automatically you will get a new input, which basically it's for the user to put information in. And so let's say that now I just return name. And so my name is Hugo. And then it will simply run this and then output the my name at the bottom. And you see that over here we have some logs. So if you want to print some things, or if you use some library that prints some logs, it will appear there, of course. So what's pretty cool with Windmill is that in addition to having this interface, is that it also handles dependency automatically. So let's try to do something with OpenAI. So I'm just importing it here. Okay, I need to use it, sorry.
Sorry, question. How did you get to just a blank script? Because when I do different languages, it gives me.
Yeah, sorry. I just deleted the whole script, yeah. And if you want to get back to the whole script with all the explanation, you have this reset button. Oh yeah, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't reset to where I thought it would. But yeah, you can. But yeah. So so there is, before we go to dependencies, there is another concept I need to explain. Is that we don't want to put API keys in the clear. So what we have is a concept of resources. And to include a resource in a script, what you do is that you put a parameter, and to it you will apply a type, and this type is the type of the resource type. The resource type, sorry. So here our resource type is going to be called OpenAI, and you have this little button here, which lists you all the resource types of the instance. So let's search for OpenAI, and then it will automatically create the class for it. Once this is done, you can see that on the right, we have this new input field, which basically will find the resources you have in your workspace and then offer it to you. So if you alt pasted the OpenAI key I showed you before, you should see it. Otherwise, there is a plus button here. And this is basically creating a resource of the OpenAI type. So you can just name it as you want. And then you can paste your API key here. So again, and then you can select it here. And you doesn't matter which one. So once you have this resource that is passed to the script, you have it available inside to simply, right? And then you can just run it, and then we see here that it will output it. But instead of doing this, what we want to do is maybe create something with OpenAI. So here we see that I have autocomplete. So this is powered by the key which I provided you with, and is basically a chat GPT-3 behind it. So what I want to do now is just do a simple script which will basically query OpenAI using their new model, which just released Monday, I think. And we'll just pass a prompt and then get a response. Using the client. So because I don't know their API by heart, I can just go to their homepage, and then I'll just copy the code, and then at the end I can just remember. Thanks. And then so what I wanted to so let's say that we want the new model, and we want, so this input is not that useful, so we'll change it to prompt. So you see that now that is renamed, and then we pass the prompt to the API call. And so now what will happen is that we can put some random input. What is the time? And so we have the resource which is specified. Okay, we don't see, I thought we were going to see the dependency installation. But what's happening right behind the scene is that we have a parser which will go through the code and look at the dependency we imported, and then automatically handle the imports. So you don't have to care about that. It will just handle it for you. Of course, in case you want to pin them, especially when we have conflicts, we also have a way of doing this. I'm not going to show it now because it isn't that important, but that's how it works. And we not only do this for Python, but we did it also for TypeScript, so Node.js, but also we just introduced PHP and so on. Okay, so now that we're done with the script, do you have any questions? Is it all clear? Yeah, okay. So we'll add a name. So here we see that automatically we pass the content of your script to OpenAI, and it will generate a description for the script. So you can just press tab. And then once that's done, you can just deploy it. Right, and then we can try again. Right, I mean, it doesn't have access to time yet. And so this interface, which is more user-friendly, let's say, can be shared with anyone. So we have like a special accounts for the platform, which make it easy for non-tech people in your team to basically run scripts. And then they can just basically from the description of the scripts and the title, infer what they do, and then just run them easily. And so, as I said earlier, we have a lot of observability. So here we have this runs page on the left. And basically there you can see all your previous runs. And then we can see here that we have the one I just read before, with the arguments, the result. We can also check the logs. If you click on the ID, you see more details. And we see that we can run again with the same parameters, or we can change it. So it's really easy to see what you've done and to basically build on what you've run before to improve this. Okay, so this was the first part. The second part is flows. So flow are basically just structure around those scripts. So what I want to do here is get an article from Wikipedia and then summarize it using OpenAI. So first we need to get the content from the URL. So let's create a new action. I'll use again Python. This time I'll use my AI generator. So basically we have a prompt specifically made for Windmill so that based on your instructions, it will generate the code compatible with the platform. So you can see here that there is already the prompt I want to use. So what I'm saying is like using Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is a library to parse HTML, to parse and download the content from a Wikipedia article. And I want to convert it to Markdown. So now we see it working. So you see that it automatically created, oh. No problem. That it automatically created a function called name, and let's accept the suggestion. And then let's get a Wikipedia article. Let's get one about windmills. And then you can just test it at the bottom here. Here. And you have this test this step. And then you can just run it, and then we can see if it works or not. So it seems that it was able to get it. So that's pretty good. But there is still a lot of extra text, and we only want the summary, sorry. So what we'll do now is add another action. And this one we've already done. So it's the one we created in our workspace. So you have this option to go into the workspace. I can just select it. And we see that I have the code from before. And I have this, now I have those inputs here. And what's more important that right now we just have ordering. So the first step will execute before the second one. But now what we also want is that to connect the data between them. So what I do here is first I'll select a resource for the OpenAI. And second, I'll connect. So to connect, we have on the right here, we have the result of previous steps. So you see you have the IDs over there and the result associated with them. So I'll write a JavaScript expression just on this toggle here. And I say, okay, please resume the following article. And then now I can just connect it to the previous step. And you see that it inserted automatically an expression, which is basically the result of the previous step. Yeah. And now I can test it again. So we see that while it's quite small, we see that it automatically took the result of a previous step, so that it's easier to develop, because you don't have to copy paste or get the result from the first step. It's just like you can iterate pretty quickly without having to do extra work. And then now we can run it. Takes a bit of time. And then we see the output here. So we see that it's much shorter. I'm not going to read through it to check that it's accurate, but yeah, you get the idea. So now that we have this process, we can check that the whole flow works correctly. And here we see that there is no input, but we want the whole flow to get an input. So what we'll do is go back to select this input step at the beginning. And here we want to add the argument, which in this case is a URL. And we have this shortcut here that will automatically take the input of the first step. And then here we want to connect it, but actually it's already been done. And we see that here it takes the URL from the flow inputs. So now that we can test the flow, I'm going to test it again with the same URL. And here we see detailed view of how the flow is executed. So we see here that the first step ran, that it took this value as an input and outputted this over here. And then we see that here it correctly took the result of step A and then outputted a summary. All right, so now that we're happy with the flow, we can deploy it. But before that, I just want to show you that these are only a few of the things our flow builder supports. We also have like for loops. So let's say you have a step that returns an array and you want to execute scripts for each, and then you can easily get the result of a previous step. So let's say result A. I mean, here it doesn't make any sense, but yeah. And then inside this for loop, you can do what you want. But we also have like parallel branches. So if you want to run jobs at the same time, we also have if else's. So these are branch to one. Yeah, which is basically an if and an else, and which would be conditional on a certain predicate. So it can be the result of a previous step, or it can be hard coded, or it can be pretty much anything. And we also have like a pretty cool thing which is called approval, what it does is that let's say you reach a step in your flow where you're not sure whether you should continue, and you want to have some human input. So in this case, the job will stop running, and you will get a URL either by Slack or email, or you can put it everywhere you want, and it will redirect the user to a website, and it can decide whether it should approve or not the flow. And if you approve, the flow will continue running and might do other steps, and otherwise it will just stop there. All right, so let's just deploy this flow. So we know it works. I think I mean, you get that, yeah. Yeah, I don't have to stay here while they run. What is also pretty cool is that flow or scripts both can be easily turned into API endpoints. So if we take our flow, we have this subtab which is called details and triggers, and at the bottom we see a tab called webhooks, and basically it's really easy. I mean, the webhook is basically already set up. You just need to create a token for it. So the token is just authorization, right? And it has a special scope which can only run this flow. So here, let's create it. So we can copy it. And then once you create it, you have several ways to trigger this endpoint. So you can do it async. So you first send a request to start a job, and then you send another request to get a result. Or you can do it in, like, you send a first request, and then you will only get the response once the job is done. You can do it by post, by get, with the token headers or inquiry. It's just, we have a lot of customers who had different needs. That's why we offered that many solutions. So let's get the URL, and then I have Postman open. You can also copy the curl shortcut, but I'll just demonstrate that it works. So you just copy paste your URL somewhere, and then inside your body, you will want to pass your URL again. So let's take the same one, doesn't matter. And then I can just run it. Oh, is it post? Thanks. Oh yeah, post path. Okay. And then I can go here and actually see that it's already running, and it is in the process of executing the steps. And I guess it should end quite quickly. Yeah. And then I got the result. All right. Third part is the app builder. So we have this UI, which is auto-generated from the script, which is pretty good for simple needs, but sometimes you want maybe to offer your non-tech friends some easier interface, better interfaces. And so what I'll do here is simply create something that displays this result much cleaner, in a much cleaner way. So first we need the field. We can put it anywhere, right? So this is the URL of our page. And then we want a button to trigger an action. I'm going to change a bit of the styling so it looks a bit better. And then, yeah, I'll already do that. So here, this button, we see on the right that we have an option to create a script, or we can select one from the workspace. And what it will do is that it will run every time the button is clicked. It's as simple as that. So here we see we have the option to select a flow from our workspace. So I'll select the one we just did. And again, we need to connect this URL to the input field here. So this is really easy because we have this small button on the right, which is a little plug, and then we can just click on it, and then it will you can just go to the component you wanted to connect to. And if I click here, we see that we have results, and bam, it's just there, and then it will be connected automatically. And we can already try it. What's going on? Sorry, just something's wrong. I'm not sure what. Is it working? Okay, so it's working, but it's a bit slow, so we don't see the result for now. But in the meantime, we wanted to display it now. So we can just look in the components for, we have one which is called Markdown. And we can just put it there. And then, oh yeah, and we see the result. On the left, we have the result of every components. And here we have the result, and we see that it did work. Oh no, not this one, sorry. Yeah, here. So we have the result of our button, which is the result of the script, and which is the summarized article. And now what we want is that we want this Markdown to display the data. And again, we can use our connector to connect it to the output of our button. And ta-da. Just like that, we already have an app which basically can be used by almost anyone. We can preview it as an operator. That's how we call them. And then, like before, it's a bit slow, but it will be shown on the right when it ends. And basically, you're able to create an app really quickly. And you have because you can do it any action with all the action with just code. You're basically able to do anything you want, right? There is little limitation. Of course, there's some limitation regarding UI because it's drag and drop, but you have no limitation at all regarding tech stack. Right, and then you see the result on the right. And now we can deploy. What's also cool is that once it's deployed, you can also, if you wanted to share with people but you don't want them to give them access to the platform, you have this option on the bottom, which basically generates a public URL. And then from this URL, you can just access it from everywhere. So now you can just share it with your friends or anyone, and they can just get access to it. All right. There are many more possibilities with the app editor. You can style them because the basic styling is really basic and simple. But once you have like a component, you have an option to style it, which is here. And you see that you have a panel on the left, and you can either write plain CSS, or you can just use Tailwind classes. So for those who don't know, Tailwind is just a toolkit for styling components really quickly. You can just look at it into internet. It's pretty famous now and pretty much used everywhere. But it's really simple. So here it's basically make the background red, and you see that it works directly. And if you want, maybe you have multiple apps and you don't want to rewrite the style everywhere, you can just create a theme, and then basically the theme will be shared across your apps, and we'll apply the same styling, and you don't have to start over all again. So I just don't know. Yeah, okay. So I have another app to show you. So this is a bit more complicated, but what we have is another component called Database Studio, which is here. And basically, it's simply a database editor. So you can just connect it to any database, flavor we support. So right now it's PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL, Snowflake, and BigQuery. So I think it covers already a lot, but of course we could support more. And like again, when you work with credentials, you need to select a resource for it. So this one was already created before. And then once you select a resource, you get access to all the tables. And so once you select your table, you get like a nice UI for it. Sorry. And it will automatically be displaying like this, and you can hide columns, reorder them if you want. You can make them editable. You can allow to delete. We have this insert row form, which will automatically be generated. And that also makes it really easy for, like, I'm a developer, I need to make a database for my, I don't know, for my clients or for my non-tech friends. And I don't want to do all this. I don't want to build all this UI, and then you can just drag and drop and do it. And what's more powerful, of course, because this is just one component, is that you can connect it to other components. So here, what was done is that there is a map at the bottom, and this map is connected to my table. So I'll show you how. So let's click on this first row. So we see here that we have an address, which is 123 Main Street in Los Angeles. And automatically, when I click on it, it will update the map at the bottom, which I can't access and which doesn't work. So maybe it's not a real street. It's probably. Oh yeah, it was on the right actually. Oh what? Oh yeah. Yeah, so we see it appears here automatically. So we have another example in Switzerland, for instance. So I select this row, and yeah, and it automatically updates the map. And so what was done here is that we have a background runnable. So background runnables are like scripts that I connected to the button as before, but it's not linked directly to an input. It will only run when you ask it to. So in this case, it's connected to the selected row of the table. So we see here table, sorry, and table has like a selected row prop. And then, so we see A is the ID of the table, selected row is the property, and then we get the address as well as the city, which is here. And then we see that we have this little toggle at the bottom, which says that every time this is changed, we rerun the script. So it's pretty reactive. And once that is done, we have this script here, which it just basically query the OpenStreetMap API to get coordinates from an address, and then from these coordinates, I mean, once we have these coordinates, we have this other component map, which basically takes the result of our background runnable. So you see bg _0 dot result, and this is the result of the script that is run here. And with this, we can easily display it on the map. So these are, I'll still say, quite simple examples. But you can really basically add any components you want, any number of them, add any number of scripts, and basically customize it to your needs. I mean, the components list is quite long. We have date inputs. We have also normal tables. We have charts. We have a bunch of different components. And all of these you can write scripts directly in your app editor, but you can also link into scripts and flows you've already done before. Yeah, I think that sums it up. Do you have any questions or maybe something you didn't understand quite well? Yeah?
Is it possible to export the script to some quite a large file, large project, and also this user interface to some HTML?
I mean, it's basically a link which you can put into an iframe. We don't have like a easy way to embed it yet. I don't think so. But and I'm not sure what you meant with the big files.
Like you have this pipeline of input, then one algorithm, another algorithm, and so on.
Right.
So you can access this using Windmill. What I'm asking, can I export this to a script which I can run locally, which will do the same?
So there are a few things you can do. First, we have a Git integration. A CLI, which basically you can it's a command line, and you can just sync the scripts locally, and you will get all the scripts. And regarding the results of your scripts, what you can do is we have like easy integration with S3, so object storage. So you can put everything there from the scripts. Or what you can also do is this server, they can have like some shared file system, and then you can access the results directly from there if you have access it from your computer.
So when you integrate, if I want to integrate this script into another website, I will just use the link to Windmill instead of just exporting Windmill to some other file and inserting file to. So sorry. So if I want to use this application in some different website, I use this API or link to Windmill. I can't use the code directly without.
No, yeah, exactly. So you would either call the API, or if you use an app, you can just embed it there.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, there is a very big API. So there's also API to get the code if you want. So you could get it and run it. I don't think it would make a lot of sense, but you could export it in there. Other questions? All right, then I think that's it. Hope it was clear enough and interesting enough. Please go to our GitHub and start a repo if you liked it. Yeah, it was an honor to be here, and thank you for having me. Yeah, that's it, I think.
Thanks. Were people able to run an example, or would you like to have more guided? I don't know if
yeah, I can go slower, and
people would be interested in more guided example. Yeah. Maybe you could do just the very initial one like that. I was trying to even just get. How did you get that press me button to link to?
All right. Okay. So we have the button here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So you have to add in the components, right? First, or was it there by default?
No, I had. So okay, let me get. Let's start from scratch. Make more sense. So you have this bar on the right with the components, and you can just search your components. So it would be just a button. Then you can drag and drop anywhere you want, right? So this is just a button. If you click and press it, it doesn't do anything. But you have this detailed pane on the right. And here you can basically link it to a script. So this time, let's create a new one. Here again, you can choose basically any language you want.
Create inline script, or wait, select the script.
Create inline script, yeah. And then you can select the language. And then let's just return pressed, right? So now if you can literally interact with the components directly. So let's press. So we see that it loaded, and on the left, we see that the result is pressed. So it's linked to the script that was run, right?
Do people usually use this for like what kind of tasks do they involve?
I mean, it's very, very different. I mean, you can have an app for order fulfillment if you're a e-commerce store, or you can be, we have, for instance, some hedge funds, which use it to basically, they graph everything there, and they use Python scripts to basically filter, do some analytics and so on, right? And I mean, this is for the app, but yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of tech companies have a lot of basic needs, right, of running scripts. Oh, that's something I didn't show as well. We have some scheduling integrated, and it's basically as simple as creating a new schedule. You can just put your cron expression here, link it to a script, and then and put the inputs, and then you can just schedule it. And it will run, like you see here, that it will run every day at 12, right? Yeah, sorry, I skipped from the, let me get back to the. So did you manage to get it? Yeah.
OpenAI example, but,
So, I mean, so your script needs like a input field, right?
there I could you link it with the previous script that you this info option or
No, so now it's just linked to a script, which to an enum script, right?
yeah, but how did you link it to the one that you were
So if you want to link it, you just click again on the button. You have this, and click on the right tab, and you can delete your script. And you have this option to select it from your workspace. And then, for instance, so here it's a workspace flow, so you can just click on it there. And now you see that it's connected here. And on the right, you have the input of your flow, which is the URL. So right now it's linked to nothing. So you need a way for the user to input the URL. So that's why you use another input for it. Once it's there, you want so you just click back on the button again, and you have this URL on the right. And to connect it, so basically to get the result of the input of the text field, you have this little button here, which is a helper, basically. And once you click on it, you have this kind of different interface connected. And you can just go to your text field. And you have the result, which is basically what's written in there. So maybe it's easier if I write something there. So let's try again. We see that, yeah, what's written there is available there. So this is not the right URL. So once it's linked, you can just put in a URL, and then it will just run, basically. And once it's done, we'll see the result here on the left again, the result of the error, the result of the button, sorry. So we see that it's there. And this, again, can be connected to any component. So before I decided to do a markdown component. And the same way as before, we use the little plug here, which once you click on it, you can connect to either here or from here, you can connect to the result of the button. Clear enough?
I have a question. So we can host everything on the cloud, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, if we give some data, how is it? Where is the data going? Or do we keep the ownership of the data, or is it?
So I mean, what here is we have this instance which is hosted in our servers, right? But generally, our customers host their own servers, so it's on their own machine. We don't see their data. And I mean, everything is self-contained, right? So we don't get access to any of what you're doing. The only exception is the cloud, right? And the cloud, I mean, we don't look at your data, but it's just the cloud, yeah.
So by itself also, you mean if they went through the Docker setup,
yeah, they'll be on their servers, or they can do it through Kubernetes, and again, it will be on their own cluster.
So, tough question, but how do you make money in that case?
Yeah, I think that's what I forgot to talk about. So yeah, so basically everything we do is open source, almost. I think the idea behind first was we have companies basically having everything on there, right? So they needed to be secure, right? As we said, you need to have the data on your own servers, right? Also they need to know what the code is doing, and that's why one of the main reason why it's open source. And the second reason is that we want as many as possible people to, as many people as possible to use it. The best way to do it is to make it free, obviously, and really easy to set up. And I think it's a really interesting question to see how do we make money. And so there are two ways. First is that we have like a licensing contract, offers, I mean, and the licensing provides with support. So we guarantee support in a very short amount of time. And second, there are few features which are not open source and which are only meaningful for enterprise. So, for instance, if you want to have a lot of users who use enterprise SSO, so it's the way you logged in on the platform. If you did, like if you log in with Tequila with the EPFL. This is called SSO, and we limit the number of users to 50 in that case, because we don't think there are any non-companies who would need more than 50 people from SSO. Of course, when I say companies, I also include institutions like, for instance, EPFL, but we offer a very large discount for those institutions. Other questions?
How do you handle, say you make one of those graphical interfaces for people, how do you handle multiple requests? What if 100 people send a request at the same time through that URL? Is it going to be parallelized in some way on your cloud?
So let me get to the... So the way it works is that each worker will only do one job at a time. You cannot parallelize, but you can have really small workers, doesn't matter, and you can have 1,000 of them. So as long as you have enough workers, you can handle any traffic, right? We have, I don't know the limitation. Do you know the limitation? I think it's 1 million of jobs per, like, I mean, the limitations at the DB, because the DB can only handle a certain number of jobs and pulling and pushing. But I think we don't know any clients who switched the limitation, right? Yeah.
So part of it's built in Rust.
Yeah.
I was curious about what the decision process was behind doing that, since there's some different.
I mean, Rust is really fast,
yeah,
and it's really cool. I don't think there was more process behind it. I think it's yeah. I think it's like at the same time, like as it's really fast, but it's also really cool to write with. So there's at the beginning, it's a bit hard to get used to the language, but once you get a hand of it, it's really powerful.
So I feel like a lot of people speak about Rust.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to speak about Rust, but it's not. I mean, I don't know. It's one of the best I've actually seen something built. Right?
Yeah.
So has that been a pleasant process, or?
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider the alternatives, right? Because if you look at Python, for instance, it's much slower compared to Rust, right? But it's much easier to write with. Or you could write it in C or C++, but then it's not the same, right? So yeah, I think it's kind of in a point where there is no perfect alternative, right? Okay, it's a bit biased. I'm a bit biased, but yeah. Yeah.
Now, how did you learn Rust? Did you learn it before you started your internship there, or?
I just read the Rust book, so they have like a public book. I went through the first 4 chapters, yeah, and then I had to start working.
So I guess it's not something you learned at EPFL, right?
No, there's no. I mean, maybe there is now. I don't know, but it wasn't before.
So if someone wants to work at Windmill, I don't know if you guys have positions, would they need to know Rust beforehand?
I mean, it's good if you know Rust, but you don't have to, as long as you're ready to learn a lot. I mean, most of our devs work both in the front end and on the back end, so you need to know a bit of both sides. Yeah, by the way, we have some master thesis. I think it's too late. No, I don't know if the registration process is done yet, but if you want to join us or you want to go and speak to me at the end, I'll be happy to answer your questions. But no, we don't require like you don't need to be an expert in Rust or 10 years of seniority in there. But yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any clients that need to have physical infrastructure that connects in with your work?
What do you mean by physical?
Say I have all the camera in this room, for example. It's physical. So it's because all of this doesn't matter where it's running.
Yeah.
The camera has to be in this room, otherwise it's not.
I mean, you could,
So how do you see, is there a way that you can get data from local sensors or
I mean, as long as your sensors are connected to the internet, there's no reason you cannot run it, right? I mean, you couldn't access the sensors directly from Windmill, right? Yeah, you would need some kind of server at the point where you have your sensors. For instance, we have like a client who has like a boats around the world, and they connect it through satellite internet, and basically they all run little jobs, and they just send their requests through Wi-Fi, through internet, right? Yeah.
What would be the best way to interface Windmill with like other stuff? API calls, how would you interface it with something else?
What do you mean by something else? Sorry.
Yeah, another system, or like I don't have a specific example, but maybe I have another app that's completely different from Windmill, and just want to integrate with it. The API calls.
Yeah, API calls. Yeah, I mean, we have so either API calls, or you can also interact. For instance, if your other app is like saving its data in a DB, you could just access directly the DB, right? You can directly write SQL code here. Yeah, there is no. I think everybody now uses APIs with their service, at least internet ones. Yeah. By the way, we have a Windmill hub. And here is that we have a lot of integrations. So it's like, as you said, a lot of services which offer API endpoints, and we have scripts which are pre-made for them. And you can basically use them directly in Windmill if you want. So it's just there, and then you can interact with. So it's pretty easy. Like if you need to interact with Stripe or any service, you can really get started quickly. And as I showed it earlier, like the AI gen feature is pretty powerful, except when you write random words. But yeah.